Hello and welcome to the J-Train Podcast. I want you to close your eyes right now. I want you to see a beach. The water hitting the shores. You got a good little cocktail in your hand. It's frozen. It's pink. It's got a lime wedge in the side. Keep those eyes closed. I want you to take a sip. Drink it in. The J-Train Podcast. That's what you're drinking. A nice, refreshing mix of your emails, your stories, your questions. And I want you to sway side to side. Whatever's going on in your life, I want you to let it go. Ease into the week or ease out of the week. We're taping ahead. I'm not sure when this is releasing. It's the J-Train. You're riding on the train. You're riding on the train. It's the J-Train Podcast. We answer your emails. We tell you what to do. We empathize with your issue. It's the J-Train Podcast every Monday and Thursday. We hold you by the hand. We let you know we are here for you. You write in your emails. You ask us your questions. We tell you what to do. You might take the advice. You might not, but it's all okay. It's the station that we stop at for the commiseration. The J-Train. That's right. Mondays and Thursdays, your emails, your stories, your questions. We're here every single week. I got Shelby on the ones and twos, a capacity virtual audience here. They're wild and crazy per usual. So good to be back. Shelby, how are you?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. You look great. Hair
Thanks.
looks fantastic.
Little long.
You and I, a little long, but that's okay. Both you and I are freshly birthdayed. How was the birthday? How's everything?
Great birthday. Pretty chill as the pandem, but it was pretty good.
As exciting as usual, Shelby, and I appreciate that out of you. I'm telling you, listen, another year, another trip around the sun, another serving at the table. We did it. We've made it. We made it through a tough year, and I think we're better for it, right?
Another foot in the grave.
That's right. Shelby, you always keep us real here. Listen, very excited. I have a stand-up special. It's out right now. It's out, right, Shelby? This will come out after that. It's out.
It's out. I've seen it. I love it.
Oh, my God. Shelby, wow. It's unbelievable. Coming from you, that means a lot. It is taped on New Year's Eve. It is all material about 2020. That's not an easy thing to do. I don't think you guys know this. Yeah, people aren't just putting out 2020 specific material that they wrote since July. That's not how it goes. I'm not Louis C.K. here. Listen, this is a tough feat. I'm happy. It's 34 minutes. It's out there. It's fun. I want you to watch it. I want you to comment. YouTube is a gross, disgusting place with gross, disgusting people. So I need you, fresh faces, you fun people, to go hit the keyboard, hit a comment, like it, do all that good stuff. I'm doing live shows. I'm all over the place. Fort Lauderdale, Omaha, Nebraska, Naples, Florida. Get on jaredfreid.com, and YouTube land, thank you for being here. I know you guys aren't the gross ones. You're the good ones. So I'm happy you guys are here. Very excited. Let's get to the guest, right, Shelby? Let's
hurry up.
He's new. Yeah, I better hurry up before the YouTubers come after me. He's new to the podcast, kind of at this version of it, so I don't know what tune to play because I think he's been on, but let's play. I think let's call him a new guest because I'm excited he's in.
It's the moment you've all been waiting for. a new guest.
Oh, fuck yeah.
He's the host of the Ross Bolin podcast. It is a mental health and humor podcast. It runs every Monday and Wednesday. Ross Bolin, thank you for coming on.
Dude, very excited to be here. That was one of the more thrilling, exciting, inspiring intros that I have ever been a part of.
That means a lot. My nuts are fully feathered. I really appreciate it.
Pieces of my face hurt from trying not to laugh while you were singing the intro to your pod, especially. Holy shit.
I love singing a tune. It puts me in a better mood. Ross, you're here, and people may know you because you were a central figure. You were a part of Total Frat Move. That's how we met.
Sure.
And everyone should go follow you on Twitter and Instagram at WR Bolin. Ross is fantastic, and his podcast is great. I know we share some OKPs, original key players of this podcast. People that were, when I was writing for, doing some columns for TFM and doing this used to be called the TFM podcast. And then we kind of had, in my eyes, it was an amicable breakup.
Right.
Like Total Frat Move was like, we want to start more podcasts. We want to take the name. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing kind of my own thing at this point. I'm out to sea doing this different type of show that has nothing to do with Total Frat Move.
Right.
This makes perfect sense. And then I kind of just went on my own. So you were working there. Ta-ta. And what have you been doing since? You're doing your own thing. You got your own podcast. Tell the people how you've been.
Yeah, well, first I'll say that you definitely got out at the right time. All right? You bought low and you sold high before the crash, which is huge, Jared. That's what you want.
Well, we don't want to besmirch. We don't want to besmirch because
I won't.
You might want to. I don't. I will say this: whenever I did something with a blogosphere, or whenever I did stuff with a company that had a following, my goal was put my stuff on their site, kind of come here with my own six-pack under my arm, and whoever enjoyed my stories, I'd take them as my fan and kind of go on my way. That I kind of had that attitude, and I think it was my perspective, and this might be like a bit of narcissism on my part, but who doesn't have narcissism? I always felt like that, that was my power, is that I never worked for these places. I was just kind of doing my own thing in exchange for retweets and social media push, so I never really had to answer to anybody, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, and you weren't reliant on, me as an employee of the company. Like, I was obviously beholden to whatever the hell they decided they wanted to do, whereas you and I've been on both sides of that fence in the content game, having been doing this, since over 10 years now, and getting to watch you really do your version of it in New York City. It's cool because you see, like, unfortunate as the ending with Grand X was, and we can get into as much of that as you would like or not like to, but essentially, it was a startup, man. It was a startup run by two very young guys. I was their first ever employee, and we built it to like a 55-person company that was making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Unfortunately, nobody stopped along the way to see if anybody knew what they were actually doing. So it all came crashing down, inevitably, as many startups do.
The crowd here is touched. It's
a touching story. And from the ashes of that company, though, a lot of different content creators were able to, not get their start necessarily, but have a foothold for a place to have a career. And so we got to see guys like you, J-Train, and Jimmy Tatro is a really good example.
Sure.
Dudes that came through, did content with us, and that were able to utilize the at one point very powerful and cool platform that we had built that unfortunately fell to shit. But at that point, man, we had a good thing going, and it was unfortunate to see it go down the way it did. But yeah, you know, the position you were in allowed you just keep rolling, baby. You didn't have to worry about that shit.
Well, the thing is, I kind of always kept my eye on what was going on with TFM and Grand X, and then, I had never wished bad. I'm just like, oh, I hope that place, turns into whatever it turns into. But when as you said, that's the thing. These are startups.
Yeah.
These are companies. These are places where especially in business, you have to be like, okay, what's the next thing? Like, I don't see myself yelling at The Bachelor forever.
Right.
Like, I don't like, and I know people enjoy that, but like, my hope is that as I grow up and my comedy grows up, the audience, listen, I'm still doing it now. Don't worry. As I grow up and as the audience grows up, I'll be talking about different things. Like when I'm on patreon.com/Jared Freid, 3 extra podcasts a week for $5 a month. Patreon podcasts are way more me even than this podcast.
More personal.
Way more personal. You're totally right. So it's this idea of like evolving, turning the Patreon maybe into the J Train, or maybe doing a little less dating advice and a little more lifestyle advice. These are things that I'm always thinking about, and I'm sure you're there too. When you left Grand X, you were like, I'm in the podcast game. What was the kind of the next step for you? So
the weird wrinkle in there for me was like, everybody knows Total Frat Move as the frat brand, the drunken comedy and fucking brand. That was essentially, it was College Humor, but an updated version of it, right? And that was great, but what it enabled us to do was, that was the big property. That was the millions and millions and millions of page views and downloads, and like everybody in the social media following. But we were able to market our other things we did through those social medias. So what I ended up doing, the thing that really enabled me to have the career I have now, is I started a Game of Thrones podcast while I was still at Grand X.
Yes, I remember.
We used the TFM brand to blow it up. It became literally the biggest Game of Thrones podcast in the world during the final season. And that came with it millions and millions of listeners, and like a familiarity with me on a level that allowed me to spin off and do my own thing after the fact. But it's interesting you said, when I was at TFM, man, after about a year, I was like, same place as you. I was like, I don't plan on doing frat and boner jokes forever.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I knew that was my place right then, and to build from it, and that I needed to utilize the resources at my disposal, much like you did. But that's kind of how it goes for comics, for content creators in general, right? You can't do the same bit forever. You got to find a new bit, a new shtick, a new version of you.
Totally agree. And you have to find, also you have to be the ship. You can't just be riding on someone else's ship forever.
Yes, because that gets very difficult, because you're not steering, and they could run into the rocks, which it turns out is not a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember you starting the Game of Thrones podcast, and that was ahead of its time even then, because the idea of having a TV show specific podcast, like I'm co-hosting The Bachelor right now and doing a Bachelor specific podcast, like that was way ahead. And it's like, but you were doing kind of a similar thing to me, where it's like, hey, I'm doing this Game of Thrones thing. We are finding another algorithm that can find new and different people. And I'm kind of doing that with the stand-up special. Like, listen, I have friends who have put out stand-up specials and they've gotten millions of hits. And I'm looking for that stand-up crowd to kind of come to me, where I'm dealing with maybe a different crowd that knows me for putting out, Bachelor stuff. So it's like you're trying to find a whole new algorithm to ski down the slopes with that one. And so it's all very much related and very positive and fun, but it's almost you become like an audience pirate. You're just going to try and raid different algorithms at that point.
It really is. Like the internet content game is so weird on that front that, like, I mean, that's why guys like you and me go do each other's shows, and like why guys like you find an outlet like back in the day, like Bro Bible or TFM or Barstool Sports or wherever, so that you can get your work out there, so that people in that larger audience can discover you and become fans, like you said. And that's sort of the game, man. It really is. On one level, that is the game. It's like going and getting yourself out there as much as you can, as often as possible, so that you can collect more and more people who are there for your content specifically, right? And to your point about the ship thing, man, you only get so many years in this before you have to go off on your own, and you have to do it like just you, because of what you spoke to. It gets incredibly unreliable. I'll just put it that way. If you're always relying on somebody else to make sure that their moves are correct or yours are fucked, then that's hard as a creative.
Dude, I totally understand, and it's interesting because I remember you and I always had good interactions. It was always easy to work with you. I think in that blog world, it's a little bit tough to work with some people because it's a bunch of like, to me, and what I've noticed with people who write online, and like I always had stand-up. So like I always had this thing where I was failing on a nightly basis.
Right.
And I always had this like this audience member sitting with their arms crossed, like with like not funny and you've wasted my money look on their face. Like I think that's something that like as a not humble person myself, that is something that humbles you. And I remember like when you deal with people that live in the blogosphere, in the content creation world, there are fans and there are trolls.
Oh yeah.
There is no such thing as a good critique to a blog person. There is no such thing. They're either a fan and they're right, or they're a troll and they're the worst human being alive. And it's like, I think I feel lucky for stand-up because I remember when I would write things and people go, I don't get it. I go, all right, maybe you don't get it. I could be wrong here. Like it opened me up. And I think that's something when you take it in, when you go into your own world, when you start doing the J Train podcast instead of the TFM podcast, you're like, okay, this is a good thing to have because I have to be my own editor a little bit.
Yep, you need that compass, and I'll tell you, man, that was one of the benefits for me of if you want some silver linings from the whole TFM experience and being like really what could arguably be the most toxically masculine audience in the history of the internet. It was so much worse than Barstool. Like people don't understand, but we had Jared, do you remember Lindsay Peleus? She dated Dan Bilzerian. Just insanely large breasts. I don't know how else to put it.
Okay.
At one point, she came and did a Snapchat takeover for us at TFM. And this is the woman, again, she was famous for dating Dan Bilzerian at this point. She had not really developed a career outside of the fact that she had been on Dan Bilzerian's Instagram a couple times.
Got it.
She came through and did a Snapchat takeover, and she told us that it was point blank the most disgusting and toxic audience she had ever dealt with, and that she would never come back to TFM.
Dudes rock.
And it was, it was an impressively shitty group of people.
Yeah.
Like an impressively shitty group.
Well, that was the thing for me is like, I remember I'm writing on Bro Bible and I'm looking, to find more eyes. And I started writing some columns for Total Frat Move. And I remember being like, okay, the comments section is just not great.
It was like, awful, bro.
But it to me, and this is the tough part about finding an audience online is like, at least they're engaged.
Yes.
I was like, so the people, so I do believe this about putting things out there, putting out comedy is like, if you get it, then you love it. If you don't, I'm never going to convince you. Like I say this with like, people watch my live streams for The Bachelor and then they don't follow. And I write back sometimes I'll write back to people, I'll be like, you forgot to follow. Like that's, to me, that's what, if you're enjoying this, follow the account. And they're like, and they'll write back, well, are you going to follow back? And I'm like, you don't get the economy here. I can't force you to get the economy. So I block them. I just go, I'm not going to sit here and explain it. And a lot of that came with like the, the spew and the vile that comes with Total Frat Move, that you're like, okay, I wrote something very thoughtful about dating and relationships. And then you just see one guy write something like gay and it get 1,000 likes. And I'd be like, all right, that guy's garbage and needs to be, but that's not what I'm here to entertain.
Ours was like another level though. Like there's the dude that just puts gay and like, that's regular trolling. That's where I'm like, all right, thanks for the interaction. I don't need to take anything positive or negative from this. But then there's the dude who would be like, he would spend time telling you exactly how shitty what you wrote was. and that dude was there every day, bro. So it like, eventually I figured out, this is what you got from doing stand-up, what most comedians get from stand-up that weirdly is now a thing I got from the internet is that thick skin you have to grow, right?
Yeah.
To do content, you have to have thick skin. To do comedy, to live your life on the internet, really, you have to have thick skin. And comedians get that from stand-up and from sitting there with a real human being 2 feet away from them with that look on their face that says, you wasted my money and my time.
Yeah.
Where I never got that. I don't do stand-up. It's not my realm. I've just been an internet fuck. And you got to get a lot of those comments before you get the same effect as you get from watching that person point blank, man.
Because some of them are just so ridiculous. You're like, I can't believe you.
Is this really a criticism of my work, or are you just the angriest Nazi in the world?
Yeah, exactly. So, listen, I'm pumped to have you on here. Everyone go follow Ross Bolin, the Ross Bolin podcast, Monday and Wednesday at WR Bolin. Go. Follow Twitter and Instagram. Now, explain the podcast. You call it a mental health and humor show.
Yeah.
What got you into the mental health game? What this is on subject with dealing with trolls that make you look inside your own soul 7,000 times a day. What gets you into the mental health game? Before we get to the emails, and we are going to do the emails, jtrainpodcast@gmail.com.
Of course. Very quickly, my story is simple. It's when I turned 21, I had a panic attack. All right? That day, I'd never experienced a panic attack. I didn't know anybody who had panic attacks. And on my 21st birthday, I was sitting at a bar. I was about halfway through a beer, and I lost feeling in my hands and feet and had a full-blown panic attack. And for anybody who's unfamiliar with mental health and anxiety, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to bear with me here. Essentially, I felt like I was dying, and I thought I needed to be hospitalized, and I was going to pass out. And this went on for days and days. And long story short, I had thousands of these panic attacks over the next decade.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I quit drinking a little over 3 years ago. I quit drinking alcohol finally because it was very tied to my mental health. I was having panic attacks way more frequently when I was hungover than any other time, like 1,000% more often.
Listen, man, I had my first one this past year.
Yeah.
And I had it on a plane while hungover.
Yep.
And I thought I couldn't fly because I thought I couldn't get enough oxygen. I was waking up hungover, drinking coffee, which is like the worst thing you can do, I found out.
Yeah, yes.
And I was like jumping on a plane, changing my oxygen level, and then going, am I dying, for like a second, then going, oh my God, I'm fucking dying. And then I would eat like 1,000 Biscoffs. I thought Biscoffs was saving my life.
Dude, weirdly enough, like getting I'll chew on ice cubes sometimes. It's like something about getting your brain to interact with anything else is helpful when you're having one of those attacks. But so after so many of them, and I mean, I had broken through into the podcast game through the Game of Thrones shit, and I had started doing my own show because it became pretty apparent the company I was working at was in deep shit. And I needed the Ross Bolin podcast just like you needed J-Train. You needed your own brand, right? So when I was deciding what that was going to be, man, at first I was like, I'm just going to do comedy. But then there wasn't a differentiator for me. There was nothing to make me different like you have your Bachelor and Bachelorette content. There was nothing that was a specific angle for me that fit and made it my show. And then that was the easy conclusion I came to was, look, more than ever, especially now after 2020, my show's been around a few years, but last year I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, Marketing just became easier. Thank you for the one silver lining of the pandemic is now that millions and millions and millions and millions of more people have experienced their first bout with anxiety, with panic attacks, with depression. And that's what I wanted the show to be, a place for people to go and talk about these things and learn about them from someone who's not a fucking doctor who's going to try to use a bunch of big words to make them feel stupid. Like someone that's actually experiencing it and going through it. And so my show is about sharing the struggles of life and mixing them with comedy. And that's basically it.
I love that because I always say that about like when I would tell people, we give advice, a lot, if someone, hated me right away, they'd be like, what do you know? And I'd be like, well, this is not I don't know anything. That's kind of the power of the show. It's just people commiserating, understanding that like, hey, I've been there. Hey, here's a situation. I went through something similar.
Yes.
Hey, you've done a breakup. I mean, we're going to get into it, but I love that type of perspective because I think people are calmed by that. I think people are genuinely like, just to hear someone else be open and also empathetic because I think a lot of these things are hard to like come out to people with.
Dude, you hit it on the head with what you do in the relationship side of things. It's like, look, man, we've all read Cosmo. We've all heard the different Dr. Phil sides of this shit. Like, I want to hear a regular funny dude tell me about his experiences in the dating world. And the piece of it that makes it even better is that you're real about it, right? You're telling your real emotions
honest,
and stories and feelings.
Vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what takes it to a whole nother level. So it's like, it's just the exact same. Instead of relationships, mental health was more my angle. And it's just been like, it's just one of those things where kind of worked out. It wasn't so much a conscious decision as it just sort of fucking happened.
Love it. And plus, you got a great voice. I got to say, Ross, I think I knew this about you, but you got a voice for radio, and I don't mean that you're a good-looking dude, but this is like, you got a silky smooth voice, my man.
Yeah, I smoked like 70,000 cigarettes to get here, but we got there. We got there eventually, and then I quit the cigarettes, and I'm just waiting for the cancer to show up.
There we go. On the positive side, let's start the emails. jtrainpodcast@gmail.com, jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Go, go, go. The Ross Bolin Podcast. You're going to love it. @WR Bolin, an old friend of the show. The J-Train Podcast is brought to you by Nutrafol. Ladies, I know you don't think it will happen to you, but some of you are losing your hair and you don't even know it. 30 million women experience weakened or thinning hair, but thousands of women have taken back control of their hair with Nutrafol. Improve hair growth and thickness with less shedding through all stages of life. You'll begin to experience thicker, stronger, faster growing hair in 3 to 6 months. Nutrafol is a physician formulated to be 100% drug-free. They use natural, clinically effective botanicals. It works by targeting the 5 root causes of thinning: stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, and metabolism. It's easy to get help. Visit Nutrafol.com, take their hair wellness quiz for customized product recommendations. When you subscribe, you'll receive monthly deliveries so you never miss a dose. That's great. Customization's great. You go on their website, you take that quiz. I love that. And obviously, hair loss is something that's very personal to people. If it's on your mind, just going through this process, I'm sure could be helpful. Does it work? Yes. In a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after 6 months. More than 1,500 top doctors recommend it. As Nutrafol's powerful ingredients bring your body back into balance, you may also notice improvements to your overall well-being, including more restful sleep, less stress, and better skin, nails, and libido. You can grow thicker, healthier hair and support our show by going to Nutrafol.com using promo code JTRAIN, and new customers will get 20% off. This is their best offer available anywhere, plus free shipping on every order. Get 20% off at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code JTRAIN. Stand up for your strands and get Nutrafol. The J-Train Podcast is brought to you by Rothy's. Rothy's, comfortable, washable, and sustainable shoes make getting dressed easy. Rothy's best-selling shoe, the Point in Black, has over 3,000 near-perfect reviews. Let me just tell you this right now. My mom has had these shoes for a while. She probably has millions of shoes, and these are the ones she wears the most because they're that in-between shoe. It's not your heels where you're going out glam, but it ain't your slips. It's something to get you from point A to point B, and she loves them because they just look right for all kind of events and scenarios. Rothy's come in an ever-changing array of colors, prints, patterns, and a range of styles. Rothy's shoes are seamlessly knit with thread made from plastic water bottles, so they're ultra comfortable as soon as you slip them on. That's right, there's zero break-in period. Wow, that's huge. Putting on a new pair of shoes, you're like, ugh, there's a month, and then I like them, and then they're already dirty, and then it's gone. Yeah, no, this is what... So Rothy's, right out of the box, you're ready to go. CNN says Rothy's are the comfiest slip-on shoes I've ever owned, period. And Julie J says they're her favorite shoes of all time. Plus, Rothy's always comes with free shipping and free returns on eligible items. Wow. Rothy's has transformed over 70 million bottles into beautiful shoes, handbags, and face masks. That's huge. Because now you can feel good about what you're putting on your body. Another major bonus, Rothy's are fully machine washable. That's huge. That's the thing my mom loves. They look brand new all the time. Every time they need a refresh, you can simply toss them in the washing machine. Check out all the amazing shoes, bags, and masks available right now at rothys.com/JTrain. That's rothys.com, rothys.com/JTrain. Style and sustainability meet to create your new favorites. Head to rothys.com/JTrain today. 4 months in, not sure what to do next. You ready?
Yes, sir.
J-Train, esteemed guest in Shelby. He's here, baby.
Hello.
I have written into your podcast before. Come back to you now for more sage advice. Please help a sister out. I've been dating a guy since October 2020 after meeting on Bumble. He moved to my city in August for his job, initially moved into his sister and brother-in-law's furnished basement while he waited to see if he liked his job, the town, enough to stay. Welp, it's been 4 months of dating and almost 7 months as his sister's basement roomie, and he's showing no signs of wanting to move out and get his own place. For context, he's 35. I'm 34. My town is a college town, and in the 5 years I've been here, the dating scene has been rough. Here's the first guy I've met who actually seemed normal and has treated me really well. We have a lot in common and have fun when we are together, but his lack of motivation to find his own place is starting to wear on me. Additionally, he's from the East Coast originally and has told me he is not happy with his job and hates the weather here, and maybe I should just move home, quote unquote. This is alarming because A, snow is way worse than rain. B, wanting to move back home makes it seem like our relationship is nothing more than a passing moment in time for him. Or I'm just his current companion during COVID, since you can't exactly go out and meet new friends right now. I feel like he's not considering my feelings. If he decides to just leave it all and move back home, is 4 months too soon to ask the guy you're dating about his commitment level? I've never been good at broaching the subject before, and I'm afraid I'll get too emotional, i.e. cry, and not be able to speak my mind in a thoughtful manner. Help. It's always rainy in Oregon. So this is a great email. I think it's very interesting. Lot of little nooks and crannies that are 2020 specific. Ross Bolin, what do you think?
Yeah, look, this is one we hear a lot, right? Like, you hear about people who have, it's usually this way, where it's a chick with a boyfriend that she's like,
look at the rain. We're here.
This dude is refusing to do anything with his life.
Yeah.
Like, I like him a lot, or even in some cases I love him or whatever, but he's not getting off his ass, finding a job. He's become sort of this deadbeat, piece of crap that just floats along next to me. And that's a tough situation, because sometimes it's situational. Sometimes it's based on somebody being laid off or going through some personal shit. It's circumstantial, because if it's somebody just making excuses, it's just sitting there mooching. If it's a mooching situation, then you're in trouble.
And I'm with you. This is like an emotional mooch.
Yeah.
This guy is like, oh, I got the apartment that's real cheap. Like, to him, life is kind of okay right now because there's no stress on, like, I'm in this new town, I'm in this basement apartment, fully furnished, I'm pretty comfy. He's comfy. He's comfy emotionally, he's comfy physically. And then I do think, though, and I think there's something to be said. She's like, is 4 months too soon to ask the guy you're dating about his commitment level? There is no such thing as too soon to let someone know how you're being made to feel. So, like, in this situation, she wrote some very specific things. He said, quote unquote, maybe I should just move home. The idea that a guy you're seeing says that to you without knowing what it's quote unquote saying to you, the subtext, that's crazy, right? Wouldn't you know what you're saying to a woman you've been seeing?
Yeah, you never, like, I've had a lot of those, man. I got divorced at the beginning of 2020, all right?
You did?
Like, this is the furthest I've ever gone in terms of my ability to speak on relationships.
Wait a minute. So I knew you were you were married.
I was married for like 4 years, man.
Okay.
And then
this is pre-pandemic.
Right before it. I'm talking literally into 2019.
Okay.
My wife left me. And then I went into...
sorry.
Oh, thank fucking God, dude. If she had stayed and then I'd gone into 2020, we'd both be dead. But it was a weird situation, because I went into the 2020 and the pandemic and the COVID single for the first time in 9 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I got to tell you was just the best. It was a really fun experience. And I got really lucky, man. I met a wonderful woman that I'm now dating. But back to what you were saying. When you feel like, if somebody you're in a dating relationship with says some shit to you that makes you feel awful because of the subtext, and they clearly don't get it or don't care, that is a huge red flag, like a massive one.
Because he's saying it to send a message without having to deal with the payment on the message. Like, he's going, oh, I get to send a free message to her. It's like, and now she's sitting here being like, well, it has been 4 months. I shouldn't say. I think she has to say something. I think she has to say something in terms of not, and I think it's less, you're not motivated, you're and your sisters. I think, like, attacking is not the way to go.
Right.
If you go...
You really never want the person you're in a relationship with to feel attacked, because when people get defensive, they fuck up.
Yeah, and it's more, hey, I am dating you seriously. I feel so amazing to have met someone in this college town. I think you treat me really well. But when you say, maybe I'll move home, I feel very much not a part of those life decisions.
Right.
If you're not making, I am making, and it's like, it's hard at 4 months to be like, I'm making decisions with you in mind, but that's the truth. You're 34, he's 35. Why wouldn't you be making decisions with them in mind?
Yeah, and that piece of dating is tough too, man, because we all have what you just spoke to, that sort of like calendar in our heads of how many months in are we and where should we be based on that how many months.
Sure.
And a lot of those ideas are from fucking Disney movies.
Yeah.
And that's not reality, and I think that's the way you just put it. It's like deal in reality. Deal in reality. Don't ask yourself these questions about hypotheticals or what other people will fucking think. It's like, is this a situation? Do you have a feeling as a result of it? Now express that shit to your partner before it gets worse.
Yeah, and you're going to cry. You're going to be upset. It doesn't sound like this guy is taking... Also, has to be someone that, like, takes the curtains on a relationship and draws them back. He's looking to sit there, do the play, where you're like, yeah, we're in the basement hanging out. Fun night, having movie night. And you're like, yeah, we got to see how this... I got to see the pulleys. I got to make sure they're all working because I need them to work a year from now. JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. Here with Ross Bolin. Ross Bolin Podcast, Mondays and Thursdays. Go, go, go. Go check it out. What is this dude's deal? Okay, you ready?
Yes.
I met a guy on Bumble last March. So when did you get with your girlfriend, your now girlfriend? And when your wife, you said your wife left you.
Yeah.
Is it like out of a movie, I'm gone, and she just leaves? How does that happen? Did you see it coming? Do you feel, I mean, how do you feel about that? I as a young man, you're 35?
33.
You're 33.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you're in the South, so like 9 years in a relationship to some that, like, to me at 33, it's like, I'm like, that's a different timeline than I'm sitting with.
Yeah, especially after you sit in the marriage time zone for a few years and like you think you're done, right? Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. I was one of those people where I got married and I was like, I've done it, the finish line. But really, that's like the starting pistol. Then you have to build a marriage, and that part, it turns out, it's pretty fucking difficult. So, long story short,
the understatement of the century. Marriage is kind of hard. Yeah. Okay.
Long story short, I didn't take that seriously enough either. Like, we all know that, right? But like, it was one of those things where I was cocky about it. I was like, oh yeah, marriage is hard for regular stupid people. I'll be fine, and that wasn't the case at all. It's incredibly hard. It's difficult, man. Life is fucking hard all around, and marriage is one of the most complicated relationships you can enter into with another human. So of course it's very, very difficult. But I got the more you know. Several months into like the healing process, I finally got to a place where I was starting to lose my mind because 2020 shut all of our social lives completely off, right? So I was just sitting in my house that I used to live in with my wife, losing my fucking mind. Yeah. And then I got to a place where I was like, I think I could handle meeting a girl, like meeting just to like have a conversation with a member of the opposite sex. And, you know, I got lucky where a friend of mine, I had hit up people being like, I want to meet new people in Austin. It could be dudes for friendship or whatever, like, but I want to get coffee with new people. I got hooked up on a coffee date with this girl who our circumstances were very similar. Like, she had been through a divorce. She had empathy and understanding for a lot of what I had been through. There was we had that like immediate connection that you look for with people, right? You always want that, like, you want a chemistry or a spark or whatever, something to work with. But then it was more of what we've been able to build off of through, like, since then, in terms of, I've just never really met anybody where I could soak up knowledge like this, where I felt like they were passing me wisdom and shit that made me better at life on a regular basis. So I got lucky.
There is someone listening being like, I want wisdom and knowledge. Like someone is loving the way you're telling this story. You've either been coached up really well by this new woman or you are just know exactly what you're doing because this is what everyone wants to hear about themselves.
But
right?
look, man, it really is like it's one of those things where it took the worst thing possible happening to me before I could figure this out. So I had to go through the divorce and legitimately, I mean, it was like, look, I can sit here and laugh at it now because of who I am and what I do for a living.
You're on the other side too.
Yeah. This was every day for months and months and months on the floor crying. Like this was not like I didn't wake up the next day like do some cocaine, go out, shotgun a beer, and start fucking strippers, which I think is what people like to imagine dudes do when their wives leave.
I think a lot of people think that's like the guy's goal too.
Right.
Like when they get out of I think and this has happened when you end a relationship. So you trying to date other people, like that's like kind of like the post crying question a lot of guys get asked. It's like, no, I'm going to be hurt by this too. I'm going to feel a little bit of pain as well.
Yeah, it was a weird spot that I've never been there before. Like I've never been in such a broken place where because the thing with marriage is it puts you on a track, or at least you believe you're on a track, right? What's gonna happen next after you get married? You're probably gonna have kids.
Sure.
Then your kids are gonna go to college. Then you're gonna retire, and then you're gonna die, or whatever. I don't know. That was the short version of it.
Sure.
That shit doesn't go the way you plan, man. Life doesn't work like that. And you got to adapt. And really my biggest relationship piece of advice, since we're here doing it, was like, if you leave a relationship and you learn from it, you've succeeded. If you leave and you get better, you've done the thing you needed to do. But too many times people leave a relationship and they don't take away what they were supposed to. They don't look back and analyze it like they were supposed to, which is obviously not the case with most of your listeners as they write you emails asking questions.
Listen, they're trying to get through it. Let's do another one. jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. What is this dude's deal? Met a guy in Bumble last March. We hung out for a month and a bit. Then it fizzled out. He started hitting me up again a couple months later, and we started hanging out and sleeping together consistently, at least 3 times a week, for the next 3.5-ish months. Fast forward to a party. We were together, and I found out from another female there who is friends with a neighbor that he has multiple other women over when I'm not around. Boy, this guy's sex drive is crazy. He's having sex with her 3 times a week, and then he has multiple other women.
Must be nice.
Wow, play the dude's rule.
Rock.
Yeah, so once that news got out, I started finding similar things out from other mutual friends. We never had the exclusivity talk, but I guess after that much time together and the way he acted towards me around his friends and neighbors, I had no reason to think we're not. That's a very normal thing. I know this person's writing in, and they're probably very hurt. And they're like, well, we didn't have the talk. That's bullshit. That is one of those. There's fine print in the contract. There's something called a nonverbal contract.
Right.
When you're with someone 3.5 months, you kind of expect that person is with you more than not with you. Right?
No, absolutely. Like you said, unspoken, man. You don't sit down and break that out necessarily, and you don't want to have to, right? You want to have that understanding with each other.
Totally, and there's a very common theme where it's like women that write in here hate vague relationships, and men love vague relationships. So a lot of times women will let men off the hook because they're like, well, because in their world, they're going, well, we're not an exclusive. We're not in that bucket, so how could I hold him to that? But the guy is living in the vague world where he is basically gaining off of the assumption that because the assumptions that you're willing to make are the things you're not willing to say, and this guy's capitalizing off it.
Yeah,
we got in a huge fight and it blew up. Fast forward another couple of months, and he reached out with a genuine apology, said he missed having me in his life and hoped we could be friends. We hung out a few times, and surprise, things get physical again. After spending a few days together and having 3 sleepovers in a row, I get a text saying he would stop being physical as not to ruin the friendship. I agree, and we start hanging out in group situations again. The last time he texted me over there with other friends, he was hitting on me in front of everyone. asked if I wanted a back rub, saying eventually he wants to end up with me and date me, and calling me multiple times to get there to hang. When I was later than I said I would be. Later in the night, he is on the phone in front of everyone, clearly with a female, saying things like, "I told you I was hanging out with some friends tonight. Maybe you can come over later." I asked him if he wanted us to leave, and he said yes. The next day, I wake up to a missed call and a text saying I was really drunk last night, LOL. What gives with this entire situation? Am I being strung along as a backup, or is he actually keeping me around until he's ready to settle down? Why say he wants to be my friend, then act like he wants more in front of other people? I feel like the answer is to just remove him from off of everything and ignore him and move on. Yeah, that's going to be the answer. We don't have too many mutual friends, so I could easily avoid situations where we would both be there for the most part. I feel like I know this is the answer, but curious as your input. Thank you, and sorry for the long-ass email. So what do you think, Russ Bolin?
Yeah, she hit that on the head. That's like, look, you're looking at a dude.
Get away from this dude.
Too often, first of all, you just read the first few sentences of the email, and you're like, God damn, she's giving him a lot of wiggle room. If the shoe was on the other foot, I mean, would you expect that gentleman to give you the benefit of the doubt the way you're giving it to him? Fuck no. It's just
that's a great way to put it. If we can stop on that for a second, because reverse the situation. Like you decide, we'll have sex for a while. He keeps approaching you. Let's be together. And then you're at a party talking to another guy while he's sitting there being like, what's our deal? Like he wouldn't do that for you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you put
not gonna happen.
When you put the shoe on the other foot, and you get some perspective on the situation, you realize you've been letting this dude walk all over you. But in this case, it sounds like, and this is often the case, dudes will like somebody. This happens with women too, I'm sure. You like somebody, you have feelings for them or sexual attraction, but you don't know what you want, or you're not ready, or you're just kind of figuring it out still. So you try to string them along or fucking put yourself in a situation where maybe if I figure it out or they figure it out or this or that. He doesn't know what he's doing. And once he's given you enough of those signals to let you know that he's that lost, just let him go. He's
kind of treating her like she's alcohol, and he's an alcoholic. Like he's like, when she gets away from him, he's like, we can't do this anymore. Let's just be friends. I'll just have a couple drinks. I'll take a sip of alcohol. We'll just have like a couple texts back and forth. Then she's around and the party starts amping up, and he's like, I gotta get fucking drunk on you. And it's like, it's never, and she's just, listen, she keeps going back. I'm not going to say that she has to be an active participant in this. She has to be willing to lose this person, because it's right now she's like, well, if I just hang out in the exact way he's asked me to hang out, will he do what I want him to do? No. He's never going to do it.
Look, this happens to men too. It's a thing that it's like, you don't realize it's happening when it's happening. It's kind of like joining a cult. Yeah. You don't do it on purpose, but then all of a sudden you realize, holy shit, I'm in a cult.
Yeah.
This is that. And the point is, you've hit the point where you need to stand up for yourself, and you're realizing there's a problem. Now do it. That's the thing that's important, is that when you realize you're being taken advantage of, or that somebody's kind of giving you the runaround, that you say something. Because if you just continue to allow it to happen, it's kind of, you're a part of the problem at that point.
The J-Train podcast is brought to you by Movement Watches. In a tiny apartment in Southern California, two college dropouts teamed up to create a watch company that broke all the rules. With fair prices, unexpected colors, and clean, original designs, Movement grew into one of the fastest-growing watch brands, shipping to over 160 countries across the globe. Now they've expanded to blue light glasses that protect your eyes from screens. I have these. I love them. I actually have noticed I'm sleeping better. My eyes aren't as worn out. You know that worn out feeling from looking at a screen all day? Because I go from screen to screen to screen. I go from computer to TV to phone, computer to TV to phone. It never ends. So these blue light glasses have been really amazing. They sent me the Pacific Mist watch also. I love their watches, Movement, because they don't look like that clunky, I'm trying to show off look. They look clean, smart, sophisticated. They go with anything. I like their watch, and it's designed with a 100-meter water rating, a rotating bezel, and surgical grade 316-liter stainless steel for optimal performance, featuring brushed gunmetal blue and gray dial accents. This is a sexy watch. Listen, all of that noise I just said, it's a good looking watch. That's it. And there's nothing worse than the watch that looks like the person's like letting everyone in the room know, hey, everybody, I'm Mr. Watch Guy. No, these movement watches are nice, subtle, sophisticated. They have the look and quality of a $400 to $500 watch, but you're paying that you pay at a department store, but cost a fraction of the price because they were built online and own the process from start to finish. That's, again, taking out the middleman, going straight to consumer, just like this podcast. You get a beautiful watch shipped right to your door for free, and if you don't love it, you can ship it right back for free. So free shipping, that's amazing. Plus returns. I got to spend all day in front of my computer, and my Everscroll blue light filtering glasses are a game changer. It really helps with eye strain and poor sleeping patterns, and I love the modern style of the frames. Yeah, I've never gotten to wear glasses before, so I love how they look, and I love that I have an excuse to wear them. But my eyes do feel better. I can go to bed at night not feeling like I have that worn out, screen watching eyes. So listen, let's go on Movement because I want you guys all to check it out. If you want to elevate your look with style that doesn't break the bank, then join the movement and get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns by going to mvmt.com/JTrain. That's M as in Mary, mvmt.com/JTrain for 15% off today. Again, that's mvmt.com/JTrain. JTrain podcast at gmail.com. JTrain podcast at gmail.com. Let's do another email, then we'll do a screenshot email. Does that sound okay?
Oh, yeah,
Ross
let's do
Bolin?
it. Let's do it.
At WR Bolin, Twitter and Instagram. Go follow right now, the Ross Bolin podcast, Monday and Thursday. Add it to your Rolodex, people.
Let's go.
Am I a bad person for not saying I don't want kids in my profile? Jared, love the podcast. I've been a listener since 2018 after a friend recommended it. Recently, a matchmaker made a post on their IG saying that all people who don't want children should put in their dating profile. While I do mark no kids wanted on dating apps when they give you the option, Bumble is an example that will ask you to mark it on your profile, I don't use any of my prompt writing space to clarify that I don't want children. I don't do this because I'm 24 and not even looking for a quote-unquote serious relationship right now. And two, I have had bad reactions about being child-free from people in the past, and I don't see the use in telling people that I don't see a future with. I just want to date casually, and when it comes up, it comes up. Well, the matchmaker posed a question on their caption, so I decided to comment and share my thoughts. Over the next couple of hours, I was replied to by both the matchmaker and their followers, implying that I am too immature to date and shouldn't be on dating apps if I'm not serious enough about it. I mean, of course I'm not serious. I'm 24, but my question is, am I making a mistake to not reveal all my long-term hopes and dreams, like being child-free long-term, in my profile? It seems excessive, but I'm curious as to your take. Thanks for reading. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Ross Bolin.
Holy
what do you
shit.
think?
No, you don't have to put that in your dating profile. You fucking kidding me? This is the stupidest take. Whoever said that is a jackass. People don't know. People have no clue what they want.
Also, for this person, what a well-written email. Like, listen, I read through a lot of garbage on this podcast. You posed this question in a very... wouldn't you say... Didn't this sound like an email that was just very like... Hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, I kind of, like, appreciate the openness to have the discussion. I do appreciate that, right?
No, absolutely. The more forward-facing and upfront you can be, the easier it is to get advice on your situation, frankly, too.
But there's no way that I agree with... Listen, I understand the thought. I don't understand what the reason. Like, here's the thing about dating apps. I think what she wrote, Bumble's an example, will let you mark it on their profile. Okay, you mark it there. Fine. If that's something you want to mark, if that's something you want to make sure, beware. Here's the thing. To everything in life, there are pros and there are cons. The pros of putting it on your dating app profile is, okay, someone who's super serious now knows this information and knows to stay away from you.
Yeah, but...
The cons of having it on your profile is you're giving people information with which they don't deserve the information. They've done nothing to gain that confidence in you. Just because you're attracted enough to each other to swipe right on each other, you're going to give away something like that someone can use to their dating advantage to now take advantage of you. Oh, you're someone who doesn't want kids. That means you want to be just casual. That means we can just have sex. That means I can treat you without the respectability. And I'm not saying everyone's going to do this. I'm not saying everyone's a predator. But there are these people out there that use this. I think these dating apps give people too much information sometimes. It's about sparking an interest, not making sure that you're together. And here's the other negative about putting it on your profile. Or here's the other thing. If she doesn't want to put it on her profile, she has to deal with consequences of getting to know someone, liking them enough, and maybe having that relationship end because they find out that they don't want to have kids. Like, that is a consequence she is signing up for. And again, the idea that you can protect yourself to never get hurt by the ills of the world or from heartbreak generally is just not a way to go through life. That to me, when you're like, I don't want kids, it has to be on your profile. What you're doing is putting on a suit of armor to try and protect yourself from heartbreak, and that just can't happen. And that actually ruins you from meeting people. But go on, Russell. I've taken up a lot of time.
You're absolutely right, though, dude. You just hit the nail on the head. I understand the human tendency to want to put on the suit of armor and to put in these safeguards to keep you from getting into that place that you just described, where let's say now that she doesn't have it in her dating profile, hypothetically she gets a year and a half down the line with this guy, then she tells him, hey, by the way, I don't want to have kids, and he says, oh, fuck, I do, this doesn't work, and they break up. Well, that's the normal way it would go, right? That's the natural order of things, if you will.
Totally.
Internet, the social media game has changed all that completely, but the thing that immediately pops into my head with this person telling this girl she has to put that in her dating profile is like, if you're going to go to that length, then you might as well tell me I have to put my entire medical records up there.
Yeah, it's not, I'm not one for slippery slope arguments, but you could even go backwards from medical records and say, do I have to put that I know exactly that anyone I match with, I will have sex with them and want to be in a relationship?
Yeah, like what the hell?
That's the thing. Like where does the taste come in? Where does the personal, putting yourself there? It just doesn't. Again, it is taking away adulthood from you. Difficult conversations. This woman knows she doesn't want to have kids. Hey, let's say this guy let's say a guy takes you on a first date. You have a great time. You become he has earned emotional security with you to reveal this information. That is like what you're looking for out of these dating apps. Whether it works out or not, he can take that information, choose to be with you or not, right? Like that's the whole thing. Like I think a lot of people are trying to get ahead of breakups, and that's just never going to happen.
Yeah, look, it's on some Black Mirror shit, man. It's like trying to plug the gaps of like figuring out a way to make technology take care of a lot of the things that our emotions and human interactions used to have to take care of, and it doesn't work. It's not replaceable.
Well, to argue, I would say these dating apps were created by people with not a lot of social skills. They were created definitely. Look at Mark Zuckerberg doesn't look like he was going out and just meeting a bunch of chicks at a frat party every weekend. No. It was social media. These things were created by people, and dating apps were created by people who don't have a lot of social ability and needed something to kind of inject that into their veins. And the problem is people with real social abilities use them too. Mm-hmm. So those people do take advantage of it, and that's where people get hurt and they want to get information ahead of time. So I understand where it comes from, but I'm going to encourage this person, don't take, you are not too immature to use the app because you put
No, not at all.
That in your profile.
And gaming the system almost never works. It's like it's hard, man. And that's what dating apps are trying to do. You're trying to game the system with stuff like that anyway. If you're talking about please put whether or not you'd like children. It's like you're skipping a lot of fucking steps before that conversation would have taken place.
Please put if you're gonna make me split the date before we go on the date.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. I that is something to assess your taste with. JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. Here with Ross Bolin, the Ross Bolin Podcast, every Monday and Thursday. WR Bolin on Twitter and Instagram. Go follow. I'll have all that stuff on my social media. Let's do one more. Is that cool?
Yes, sir. One more. Let's do it.
Okay, can I salvage this fuck boy? This fuck buddy. I'm sorry, that's a big difference. Can I salvage this fuck buddy? Okay, backstory. I was single for about 2 years, relocated for work during the pandemic, and decided to start dating again during COVID. Some boredom, but I'm trying to be a little serious about it. Over the last 8 months, I've met plenty of guys and gone on plenty of first dates, some second dates, but no one that blew me away. Matched with a guy on Bumble, and it's pretty erratic off the bat because he deletes the app 3 times over the course of 3 weeks. That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. I've always thought it should say how many times you've deleted the app on the app so that people know what they're dealing with. Like, you've deleted it 700 times. Okay, I'm going to move on. It feels like you're not too sure about this whole dating thing. Like, I think that should be on there.
Spot on.
Yeah, so deleted 3 times over 3 weeks. I always say, like, I used to do a bit about this where it's like, that moment you delete the app is a very confident moment, and then the moment where you re-download it is your least confident moment. You're just like, I don't know, I guess I'm going back.
It's the same as masturbating, dude. When you start, you get back to watching porn, it's exciting. You're like, all right, let's go. And then the second you've come, you're like, I'm scum.
What is wrong with me? Okay, well, when we get to the texting phase, it's amazing. We truly, truly hit it off, and it doesn't hurt that he's super hot. It's pretty magnetic, hot and fun via text, and we have to meet immediately, and it's just via text, and we have to meet immediately, and it's just as intense. We both know and admit that it's the best chemistry, deep connection, euphoria we've had in years. Euphoria, I mean, come on. However, I know 100,000% he's not someone I want to date for various reasons, various serious reasons. He's selfish and a coward. He's very insecure, so I obviously don't want to say that any of that to him, but I definitely want the D and want the fun and intensity that we have been having for about a week. Try to make plans with him over the weekend, and he's immediately in for one Friday hang. But then I bring up Sunday, and he doesn't even respond at all. Very unusual. He usually texts me all day and all night. I can read him very easily, so here are the attached screenshots from when I reach out the next day. Please bleep and blur name. Question is, can I salvage this fuck buddy selfishly for myself? Sounds like he's really got ahead of himself. I just want to hook up a little more. I know it would end, but I didn't think it would end that fast. Sincerely, want the D. Okay, so this is, again, I'm going to like redo this email a little bit. It seems like they met on a dating app, instant chemistry. It seems as though they've hooked up, even though she doesn't really say that, but she knows he's not someone for her, but she wants to hook up. Okay?
Right.
So let's read the text.
Oh, these are
okay. You got them.
These are magical. Yeah.
Okay, ready? We're gonna go through them all.
I'll
be her, you be. I'll be her, you be him. Okay.
Okay.
She's the blue.
Okay.
What the fuck happened to blah blah blah? His name.
Good morning.
Burn flying too close to the moon. That mono had you drop off the face of my earth.
Just lost in my head.
You know I see through that.
How so?
You're full of shit. You know that? I know that. It's okay. And then later that day, are you all right?
And she has one more. This isn't really.
Oh, are you all right?
Serving me.
No, this isn't really serving me anymore. So I would like to blow this up now, please.
And then do we just go on to the next page and she's still ranting and he hasn't responded yet?
Well, you got to respond if that's what you want.
Oh, here we are. Okay, yeah. These are in the wrong order. If that's what you want. Sorry.
You did a complete 180. Anything else? I guess not. I don't think you are strong enough right now to know why, although, of course, I can provide that to you out of respect. The only thing I want to mention is that this isn't me abandoning you. This isn't about me at all. I don't want you to pretend to remove all responsibility from yourself with your above.
Where the fuck am I now? This is like reading a script from
No, with you.
Oh, here we go. I certainly didn't want to be disrespectful or upset you in any way. When I don't know what to say, I don't say anything. I didn't mean to be immature.
I don't have any expectations of you. The only one there was set by you. You set the expectations of clear, consistent communication, then completely withdrew. So, of course, that I was not going to be happy with that. Not going to be happy with that. I guess my only expectation aside from that was wanting to get to know each other, having as much easy fun as we had, intense sex, and leaning into that intensity, which all seems to be scary to you now. But I thought we...
let's see where. But I thought we. I'm just gonna jump to the. I think this is the one I haven't read, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That says, "You're absolutely right. Oh, you're absolutely right. I scared myself. It wasn't bullshit when I said I get stuck in my head."
She writes, "Yeah, but I thought we were on the same page." Okay, now you go.
Okay, well, you're absolutely right. I scared myself. It wasn't bullshit when I said I get stuck in my head.
We have known each other a week. I truly don't think there were expectations. Thank you for admitting your fear and accepting responsibility at least.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
This was the more, it was a very, very, very complicated version of we've only known each other for a week. I don't think either one of us knows what we want yet, perhaps. Or this dude went too deep on the texting day 3, 4, 5 and then realized, like, holy shit, I need to stop texting all day, every day. This is a bad precedent to set.
Yeah, I can we reread it and maybe let's reread this because we want to make this into a video and this is just blown up. I'm trying to see the order. February 11th at 7:32. Then it's 17:26.
Then that's where it gets a little confusing because
it goes. It should go. Okay, so it goes 1, 3, 2, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start again.
Okay, got you.
We're gonna read these. I'll cut it up afterwards. Let's read it. It goes 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. Let's read the text.
Got you.
What the fuck happened, blank?
Good morning.
I like that he starts out with like, oh, good morning. Like he knows she's mad. Okay.
Yes.
Burn flying too close to the moon? That mono had you drop off the face of my earth.
Just lost in my head.
You know I see through that.
How do? So?
You're full of shit. You know that? I know that. It's okay. Then he doesn't answer. And then she writes, are you all right? This isn't really serving me anymore, so I would like to blow this up now, please.
If that's what you want.
You did a complete 180. Anything else? I guess not. I don't think you are strong enough right now to know why, although, of course, I can provide that to you out of respect. The only thing I want to mention is that this isn't me abandoning you. This isn't about me at all. I don't want you to pretend to remove all responsibility from yourself with your above comment. And no, that's not what I wanted. But I don't feel you gave me a choice. I have no regrets. I'm not ashamed of any of my behaviors, and I have been pretty real throughout, though I would not say the same about you.
Jesus Christ.
Here's the thing. She wrote in, can I salvage this fuck? But no. You're over this. This will never amount to your expectations. And that's okay. It seems like they had sex for a week, they had a good time, and then he disappeared. And she's like, we went from texting every day to nothing at all, so this guy must be fucking deserting me. Now I want him to know that I've caught him. It's over. And then she's saying, well, how do I get him back? The sex is great. No. Sex needs illusion. Sex needs sex and passion and being with someone who you don't really know that you met after a week. It needs illusion. It needs you thinking that he's all fun and great and there's some sort of maybe future. He needs you thinking, he needs to believe that you think, this is casual. We're just having sex. This became real. He ran away. You are looking to get angry at him for it not being what we all expected or what we could have thought it to be. And because it's good sex, I'm not blaming her, but I'm saying they're both kind of sitting here being like, kind of poking around the dead body. But go on. What does he write back?
I can appreciate this dude's response here because, like you said, this is definitely her poking around. She's poking a dead body, seeing what will happen. And he says, listen, I really enjoyed hanging with you. I don't want this to be a bad thing. We've barely known each other a week. I just don't know what your expectations of me are, and I feel like there's 100% chance that I'm going to disappoint you. My life is not where I want it right now and didn't expect this to be so intense. So it sounds like he probably went into it thinking like, oh, whatever, this is really casual. And then she got hooked on the magic stick, and he's trying to pull the ejector switch, and she's like, hold on now. Sit down and let me hit that thing one more time.
Listen, this is what happens when it goes 0 to 60. I'm not blaming her. Like, that does suck to have someone kind of bail and to like be so intense with someone and then have them go to like literally to 0. What I will say to her is you have to communicate where your head's at before you start telling someone how horrible a person they are. And I'm not saying you're wrong for your feelings. I am saying there's a better way to come at someone where you go, like, if she had been like, hey, I'm feeling you, pull back. Can you talk to me about it? And then he doesn't talk to her. Hey, can you at least do me the favor of having a conversation with me? It's been a week, but we've spent a lot of hours together, and also we've been naked together. Like, I'd like to talk to you.
Yeah.
Like there's a middle ground on this that isn't being used. But so let's go to the next text. I'll read it. So he kept going.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I certainly didn't want to be disrespectful or upset you in any way. When I don't know what to say, I don't say anything. I didn't mean to be immature.
Yeah, he's bullshitting there. He's bullshitting. Like, that line is from like a fucking Hallmark movie. When I don't know what to say, I don't say anything at all. Like, no, come on, Sarah McLachlan. That's crazy. But that makes her even more angry. I don't have any expectations of you. The only one there was set by you. You set the expectations of clear, consistent communication. Well, you've known each other a week. How could he set that? And then completely withdrew. So, of course, that I was not going to be happy with that. I guess my only expectation aside from that was wanting to get to know each other, having as much easy fun as we had, intense sex, and leaning into that intensity, which all seems to be scary to you now. But I thought we were on the same page.
Well, you're absolutely right. I scared myself. It wasn't bullshit when I said I get stuck in my head.
We have known each other a week. I truly don't think there were expectations. Thank you for admitting your fear and accepting responsibility at least.
Yeah, so the thing about this that's really concerning is that she ends this 5-page text back and forth email situation with her own answer, which is, we have known each other a week. I truly didn't think there were expectations. Thank you for admitting your fear and accepting responsibility at least. And here's the thing I'll throw out for the females that are listening and wondering, like, what the fuck should she have done differently? Guys have no idea what they're doing in terms of expectations at the beginning of relationships. I'll give you an example. My ex-wife, I took her on our first date to one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. And like the next week, it occurred to me that was one of the stupidest things I had ever done because I really liked her. And now I was going to have to stay at that bar.
And where are you going at Valentine's Day? Where are you going for the anniversary?
Now you're fucked.
Where are you going? Yeah, you're done.
And that's what happens if you meet somebody and you become really infatuated with them to the point that you're trying to stay connected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, texting nonstop. And then one of you realizes, like, wait a minute, we may have gone a little too fast here, and pulls back. Like, you've already set the bar, and now she's confused and upset and frustrated.
Well, she also says, I truly didn't think there were expectations. You're getting mad at him for not living up to your expectations while saying there were no expectations.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
So it's very confusing. So that's not to say she's wrong for feeling upset. You can feel upset, but you can't accuse someone of not living up for expectations when there were no expectations. That's just, and I think you have to come at him a little bit differently if you're going to say to someone, hey, you have to be a little bit more vulnerable. Hey, I like the sex. I like your company. It disappointed me that you just disappeared after a week. What do we do now?
Yeah, man.
If I'm going to have sex with someone, and I know because we did that whole week, it seems like I'll just have sex with you at any time. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is for someone who is going to be in a fuck buddy situation that is going to be open with me. And that's the problem with labels. You call it a fuck buddy, and you're like, well, in your mind, fuck buddy means once a week. In their mind, fuck buddy means I call you when I call you, and that's where we're getting anger here, where anger gets us nowhere.
And like you said, man, the thing that's really difficult for people is to be upfront and be very truthful and authentic with each other. And just like, if you would just, so many of us, our relationship problems and stuff like this, it's like, just say what you're trying to say. You went through so much anger and frustrated texting before you got to what really should have been a one text conversation where you should have said, hey, I know we didn't really have any expectations and we've only known each other a week, but I'm disappointed with the way things have turned. I thought we had something kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a renegotiation at that point. Hey, I'd like to hear from you a little bit more. I can't sleep with you if I'm not getting kind of the other stuff. I'm not saying we have to text every day, but it feels like you've gone into no effort mode. That hurts me. That's a different conversation than you better start thinking about what you're doing with your it just didn't work.
It doesn't translate properly.
And for that reason, he is out. He is shark tanking you. He is pushing away from the table. He's going, oh, this is way more than I want to deal with. That's why you can't get back to this whole fuck buddy, imaginary scenario.
Exactly right.
JTrainPodcast@gmail.com, JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. Ross Bolin, this is fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. It's been too long. I'm glad we finally got it done and looking forward to having you on my show very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. At WR Bolin, the Ross Bolin Podcast, Mondays and Thursdays. Shelby, thank you for playing the ones and twos. Fantastic, per usual.
Thank you.
At Classic Shelb on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Jared Freid. We're here Mondays and Thursdays. We'll be back next week. Boom! Check out the special. Don't forget to like the video you just watched. I have many more. Subscribe to the channel right now. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe, you fool. There's even a bell you can click to. Now you've got your week set Monday through Friday. I'm here for you.